Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Joy of Coding. This is episode 13. I'm Mike Conley. We're going to hack on some Firefox stuff today. Let's get into it. So, here's my screen. Let me pull up my notes. Here's the agenda. So, I want to point something out actually. So, I have this agenda thing that I go through every episode, and it's actually pretty useful because it allows you to click on links and maybe see, like, basically follow along and not have to like figure out what bug I'm working on and type that into Bugzilla or whatnot. Like, I have direct links to all the stuff I'll be working on in this agenda, and I want to show you where you can get that. So if you're watching this video on Air Mozilla right now, if you go under additional links, so down here there's this like these little tabs, and there should be one called additional links, and the agenda is the first link in here. And there are some other links in here. Like if you're wanting to chat with myself and some other people about what's going on in the channel, maybe, I don't know, the audio needs to be more in sync or something, you can let me know by chatting with me, and here's a way to do that is over IRC. And so if you click on this, it'll take you to a live updated version of my notes. So this is what you would see, and you could follow along. Yes, let's get moving. So like I said, we're in hash live hacking on irc.mozilla.org. If you want to join us and talk, I've been mirroring these episodes to YouTube. So in a day or two, when this episode, I have a blog post about it, I'll also put it up on YouTube. So if you're watching this on YouTube, hello. So the couple of bugs I've been working on in the last few days, or the last few episodes really, have to do with this cache key business. If you watched the last, I think it was 2 or 3 or 4 episodes, they all involved either view source, or I believe it was the last one that involved save page as. And now Firefox is asking me for my master password, which is quite long. And what ended up happening was I wrote those patches, and the patches all have reviewed. We're all good to go there, but we're blocked on landing. Basically, we're waiting for this cache key thing from the Neko team to land in the tree, and it's got review. Like, the patch has been written, and a fellow from the networking team has looked at it and given it an R+, but there's some fix-ups that still need to happen, and so those fixes will happen. This patch will land, and then these two can land in the tree, which is great because we're only, I think, less than a week away. I think it's, yeah, next Tuesday is the uplift, or maybe it's Monday is the uplift. I'm not entirely sure, but basically we're down to the wire here, so this is good. These two will get fixed, and I believe the case is that we will not be turning on E10S by default when we uplift to Aurora, but we will be offering E10S to Aurora users like we do, like we did on Nightly before we switched it on by default. So we're going to expose it as an option for users of the Developer Edition, but we're not going to turn it on by default. There's still a little bit more work to do. So what are we going to work on today? Today it's yet another printing bug. That's what I thought we would work on today. If you've been watching right from the beginning, you'll know that I started this entire series. Episode 1, I believe, was about a printing bug on Linux. And we had printing working on Windows, and I got it working for Linux, and it already worked for OS X. But the way it works for OS X is we cheat. And let me kind of explain how we're cheating. So whenever we say I'm in the browser here, and these are actually E10S tabs. We've removed the underline. If you're wondering where the underline is, if the resolution is good enough and you can tell that the underline is gone, it's because we've removed the underline. But I can still tell it's an E10S tab because it's got E10S at the end of the tab title. You can't see where I'm pointing. Why am I pointing? But it's got E10S at the end of the tab title there. Still pointing. Why? It's a reflex. And so these E10S tabs, if we were to print, this will work. Like, this dialog comes up to print, but a few things are wrong with this picture. First of all, and this is hard to describe because I'm actually recording this on a non-Retina display, but if this was a Retina display, this entire dialog would be low resolution. And let me bring it up again. Another thing to notice is that this dialog, whenever I first bring it up, doesn't have focus. Firefox still has focus. And I have to, in order to interact with this dialog, I have to click it and then manipulate it, which isn't great. I mean, and that's not like the worst thing in the world, but it's really awful, and it definitely shouldn't ship that way. Um, but these are both symptoms of the same problem, and it's the same workaround that I'm thinking we should bypass, or just rip out and do it the proper way. And the workaround is that the dialogue is being opened in the content process. So the content process, if you're just joining us, is where we're doing all of our like web rendering, JavaScript for content. That's basically what we're splitting Firefox up into these two processes: the browser process and the content process, which runs all of this stuff in here, and the browser process runs everything outside, and so that the content process won't block the main process if something starts going wrong on your web page. So, for example, if the web content starts doing something really expensive, then the web browser will still remain responsive despite the fact that your content is going crazy. And the content process, one of the nice features or a nice property of splitting things up that way is that we can sandbox these processes. The content process can be given lower privileges than the browser process, and that's good. That's good for security. It's not a silver bullet for security, as some might claim, as and has been shown in Pwn to Own, because there are other browsers that sandbox their separated content processes. I think Internet Explorer might do it. Definitely Chrome does it, and they've both been exploited. In IRC, Barrett is asking if anyone else is getting dropped frames. Distracting. So we were talking about the print dialog, and the print dialog is what we're working on today. The print dialog, the problem with it is that it's actually being opened in the content process. The content process isn't actually supposed to be able to do that. It's not supposed to be able to open dialogs, but we were exploiting the fact that it was able to do that in order to just make printing work on OS X, because we just wanted it to work. And so when we print here, when we go File, Print, this is being opened up from the content process, and that's why it's not focused. Another process is open, not the browser process, but the content process has opened up this dialog, and you know it's all wrong basically. We're exploiting something that shouldn't be the case. The content process is really not supposed to be able to do that, open dialogues, etc. But just OS X allows us to do it. But with sandboxing coming in, when we start to lock down the privileges that the content process allows to have, opening dialogues is going to go away. It's not going to be possible. So this is something we need to fix, to address, and the way we're going to do that is very similar to the way we fix things for Linux and Windows, which is to serialize the print data stuff, send it back up to the parent, have a dialog open up, and then whenever the information is filled in, serialize it all down, send it back down to the content process, and then kick off the print job, which is what we've done for Linux and is what we do for Windows. And this is basically an exercise in serialization, deserialization, which much of E10S really is. It's just splitting things up and splitting up work and serializing and doing messages between the two processes. But what we're going to where am I? Let me show you where I am anyways, because I've sort of started this bug already. I've already done some research on the things that we need to send over. And that's really it. I haven't actually written much. Let me actually show you what I've written. I'm pretty sure it's very minute. I've been working on other things in the meantime. So let's take a look at where we are. Print dialog doesn't get focused. And do I have anything on uncommitted? A little bit. Oh, these are some logging messages for a completely separate bug. So I'm going to revert those. I don't need those anymore. Those are completely unrelated. And in the meantime, let's take a look at what the actual patch I've written does, which isn't much. I tweaked a comment and then I added this thing to an IPDL struct, which, okay, that's fine, but that's not a whole lot of work that's been done. So we're starting basically from scratch here, and I'm going to just do a build, make sure we're up to date while we talk through what's going on. So the place in the code that we really need to worry about is this section. NS print dialog service show is what the content process is actually calling in order to make the dialog show up. And where is that? I think that's here, yes. And it's passing in the DOM window, which the content process has. The parent process, the browser process will not have this. The NSI print setting stuff, and an NSI web browser print, which is like this basically print controls and information about the print job that's not the settings. And then there's all this, like all these operations take place. The key operation being this right here, which opens up the print dialog. So this is actually the part that opens up the print dialog, and it blocks. It will block the main thread and spin like its own nested event loop. So everything up until here is interesting because we want to know what information it needs in order to accomplish its job so that we know what to serialize and send up in order to accomplish its job. The first thing I noticed is there's this, where it's enumerating the document names. And we actually had, I had a comment in here about that before, but I removed it. But basically, this is one of the things that we need to send up are these document names, or actually just one document name. Like, because if you'll notice, what it's doing is it enumerates the names of the documents that we're about to print, because it might be split up over several documents maybe, or it might be split up over several different URLs. I actually don't know how it works, but it gets a title for each one, or a name for each one, and then it just goes, like, it extracts all of the document names, and that's a collection of length title count, and doc titles is an array, sort of a char 16T array of like char 16T strings. And what we do is we just get the first one. We look at the very first one, and we set that, we call PM print settings set job name. So every print job on OS X needs to have a job name, and this is where we do that. We set the job name using the very first document name, and then we just throw the rest of them out. We don't use them. Like, we go through the array and we just free the strings, because this apparently will like allocate memory. This allocates, and then we have to free it manually. So that's not something that I think we really need to do. I don't think we need to send all the document names. At the very, like, we're going to be mocking out enumerate document names, but we really only need to give it one. I mean, I know what you're asking, like, why do we even go through all this rigmarole? Well, I don't know. This is old code. I don't really want to mess with it too much. Like, somewhere down the line, someone, it might be me, it might be someone else, some poor soul is going to refactor and make all this stuff better. Hold on a second. I hope it's okay that I'm sitting here. I'll try not to be too noisy. I had to move because I needed a network port. So I'll try and not be too loud. All right. I don't want to mess with this stuff too much, because it's kind of well-established, battle-hardened code that I don't want to like wreck the ecosystem by just sort of strolling through it, removing things that I don't understand. So someone's going to come in the future, hopefully, and clean all this stuff up and like really work hard to understand it. But that's not me, not right now anyways. All I care about is getting it to work, and that means finding the little things that I need to do in order to make it work. And I'll only end up refactoring this stuff if I really, really need to. So my first change will be to only send up a single document name. And actually, we already have something in NSI, our p-printing types here, this struct. This print data struct is what we serialize and deserialize through over IDL. And there's already something here about like the page title, I think, or the title that we could use. We can stash that value in here, presumably. That was one idea, except that I don't fully understand what title and doc URL are used for. I'm pretty sure these are like things that they're available on NSI print settings, but it's not obvious to me like what what purpose they serve. So while I was initially thinking of stuffing it in there, I don't want to like break another part of the printing engine that I don't understand. So in the meantime, I've added this print job name string, and if it turns out that we can like use one of these instead, I'll just switch to that. That's very easy. But in the meantime, I'll just use this print job name, and that's as far as I got. And then I did a bunch of like researchy things to figure out what to serialize next. The next thing to realize is that OS X cares about um, this NSPrintInfo thing. And NSPrintInfo is basically like the OS X version of like NSI print settings, basically. And so it wraps a dictionary, just key value pairs of things that are interesting about the print job. And let's see. So someone in IRC just posted this YouTube video of like in the live hacking channel of this Nicolas Cage, top 10 Nick Cage ones. I'm really eager to watch it, but I'm going to hold off until after my stream so I can figure out in context what Cam could possibly have meant. But in the meantime, it'll just sort of dig at me at the back of my head. What could that video be? So this NSPrintInfo is very interesting, but it's really just wrapping a dictionary. And so what we'll end up doing is serializing the contents of that dictionary, sending it up to the parent, recreating this NSPrintInfo, passing that to the dialog, because the dialog wants it, it cares about it, and basically that's where the dialog gets all its information from in order to like show you your settings from last time or your system preferred settings or whatnot. And then the user will like fiddle with the settings for printing, like they'll say, I want you to print this many pages, this many copies, or et cetera, and then we'll have this NSPrintInfo dict that we will serialize, send back down to the child, recreate an NSPrintInfo in the child, and then send that around for like the printing work. So that's the plan. That's the plan. It's the exercise in serialization and deserialization. And here are the things that we need to serialize and deserialize. And I went through them one by one, trying to figure out what we'd need and coming up with a solution for each of them. So for some of them, we already have fields in the in sort of the common serialized fields that we can reuse, like the printer name, because we need to store which printer the user is selected to print to. And luckily, unlike on Linux where we had to like enumerate all of the printers and check which name, like check for a matching name, OS X allows us to like get a printer with a particular name. So we can just pass the name along and get the printer relatively easily. So we can store that in a pre-existing printer name. There's num copies, that's we can use a pre-existing field. There are a couple of these where we have to add new fields. So this is a Boolean field for whether or not to just print all of the pages. That's something that OS X cares about. Although now that I think about it, I wonder if that can be inferred. Start page range and end page range. You'd almost think it could be inferred if we knew how many pages there are in total, but we don't. So I think we should just add the Boolean, print all pages, and then there are some, again, that we can store in pre-existing fields, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So let's add the fields. Our first step is to add the fields that that don't already exist. So we have this one, print all pages. We will add that. It's a Boolean. Bool, print all pages. What's the next one? Must collate. This one, disposition. This is a short because it can take several small integer values. New one is, again, short, pages across. Short, I think it's pages down is the next one. Pages down, not page. And then another one for print time. So OS X cares about the print time, I guess. And that's something that we can serialize. Like it's an NSDate object, but I found the place where we can like serialize an NSDate to a string and then go from a string to an NSDate. So that can just be a string. We'll call it print time. And then there's one here for detailed error reporting. I don't even know what that's used for, but some of these I don't even know what they do. But because OSX cares about them, I'll just pass them along. I'll just forward them along. New field for fax number. New field add header and footer. And one more, file name extension hidden. I don't even know what that would do, but okay. Name extension hidden. So we've added all of the new fields that we need. That's great. So all of the changes, assuming that I've done this right, then all of the changes that were necessary in this file are done. We have made it so that this struct here, this print data struct, can hold all the information that we could possibly need. Now there's some things to note. I learned this recently, is that this struct, the primitive values, that includes booleans and shorts, but not the strings, they will initialize with random values, like random memory values, because that's how structs operate if you don't initialize them yourselves. Like if you don't initialize the values yourself, then they just have random memory in those slots. So we have to like make sure that we initialize them properly, or else really weird things can occur. I actually think IPC will just cause a crash. It'll notice like stuff in here doesn't make sense. Bring everything down. I'm not sure if it'll bring the whole browser down, but it'll definitely bring the content process down. Excuse me. So now that all this stuff's in here, how did our build do? It's done. That's great. And I'm also going to make sure that it's got all of the stuff we just added. Build those up. And the next step is the point where we do the serialization, because there's actually two phases of serialization and deserialization. And I'm going to be using those words a lot. It's kind of a tongue twister, serialize, deserialize. But the content process is the one that starts with the print settings and all the information about printing. And it serializes it, sends it up to the parent, which deserializes it. Then the user changes things in the dialog. The information is then serialized again, sent down to the content process, and then deserialized back into this stuff. And we use the same serialization and deserialization routines on both sides. And we do that, we expose that in Linux, where I can show you where we did that with Linux, and then we will mimic it in OS X. Let me just find the point in the code where I did that. And it was under embedding. For some reason, that's where things are for printing UI. And then it was under, Unix shared. Is that where it was? No, it was under widget. That's where it was. It was under widget. Widget, because we split up printing between two different places for some reason. Don't ask me why. Someday someone will go through and clean this up. But somewhere in here, there is, this is the base implementation. We need this stuff, print options. So serialize to print data, deserialize to print settings. This is the stuff we need to copy over. This is the stuff that we need inside the the similar methods, the similar NS print options thing for OS X, which will be over, where is it? Here, where's Coco? Coco, it's right here. Yes, NS print options. So we have the one for GTK. Let's keep that open, actually, because that will be good to work off of. And then NS print options for OS X is right here. This is the header. This is the implementation. So what did I do in the header for GTK? I added these. So I think we'll need those as well. And were they protected? I don't remember if they were protected. They're public. So these should probably be public too. Makes sense. And is there anything in here I need to bring in? Probably not, unless I need an SI web browser print, in which case I can probably just forward declare what an SI web browser print is. What did we do for analytics? We didn't care. Okay, so let's just put in some stubs. Let's stub these out. So some stubs. Some stubs. Here we go. Return. This is the bare minimum that we can do. We'll just do this. Actually, we just return that return value there. RDS print options, because there are a bunch of common things that are serialized and deserialized. So the base class that print options inherits from, we call into that first. Settings, when pass along data settings. Right. Okay. And then we'll return value there. I think that'll compile. Let's find out. We also need to like add the hooks to make it so that Coco is going to use this stuff. So I have a bunch of things open that I don't need right now. While we're waiting for this to build or fail, it's probably going to fail just from the looks of it. Just get rid of a bunch of this stuff. I'll make this. Don't need that. Don't need that. Don't need that. Oh, I did need that. Well, okay, that's fine. Don't need that. Don't need most of these things. Oh, I can group select. Even better. Can I group close? Sure. Perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. Saving time. Okay, so why did this fail? This build failed because it's never heard of as print options GTK. That's the problem with cut and paste. That is the problem with cut and paste. So, print options X. That's what I close that I really need to open. Yeah, I should definitely be using not GTK, but X here. Ah, let me just move my camera up a little. Okay, and let's see. Oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. You don't have to be quiet, everyone. There are people around me. No. The more chatter, the better.
This guy is the best.
This is Armin, everybody.
Listen to him.
That was Armin, everybody. He's the best. There's a work week happening behind me, and they're all like trying to be really quiet and stuff. But I enjoy the chatter. I just hope they don't mind my chatter. Is the problem. Just so long as it's not construction noises. There's no construction happening this week. I know there were some last week. It's not happening this week. So some other problems that it's complaining of. It's never heard of print data. And yes, print data is something that we're referring to here. So I probably need to like bring in the header for print data. Yeah, well, I need to forward declare it here in this header. Piece of cake. And then I need to actually bring it in properly. And it's in, where is it? How would it work here? How would it know? Maybe something in the, well, okay, well, somehow this implementation knows. I don't know how it would, but it knows. Maybe NS print options info.h. Yeah, see, it's bringing in p printing. Okay. then I don't exactly know why we need to forward declare it here, but whatever. Let's see if that makes it feel better. Nope. Unknown type. Oh, I probably need that using. Where was it? Yeah. I have to tell it, because it's namespaced, so I have to tell it. Hot dog. All right, that worked. So the place where let me show you the important bits. And where was it? Content process widget factory. So here's the place where we determine what components are registered in the content process. And in here, I believe we do. Oh, is it not here? Oh, it's probably over in embedding again. Oh yeah, it was under build embedding module. So this is something that the content process also gets, an embedding module. But we have this like proxy printing if def, and if we're proxy printing, that means that we are like using the proxy to serialize, deserialize all of our magical stuff. And both Linux and Windows have proxy printing set to true. See here, here's where we set proxy printing to true. Here. And I think we also need to do it for Cocoa now. There are other platforms that like embedding might be used for that are not Windows, Cocoa, or Linux, which explains why I'm not just making it the default. So I'm gonna make sure that we do things properly here. So proxy printing means that we register this, this printing prop service constructor and this printing proxy constructor in the content process only, and this one in the main process. And these are like both ends of the pipe. So this is how we like register both sides of things, so that in the content process, this proxy will do the job of like the serialization, deserialization, and this thing will handle it on the parent side, and then dispatching messages to the actual printing prompt service constructor, or sorry, the actual printing prompts and stuff. So that's good. So if I'm right, I believe this will break printing on OS X. So let's try it. Compose printing, or probably just build embedding. What I suspect, I mean, this could work, this might work, I doubt it'll work, but I suspect this is just going to hose printing for OS X. And that's fine, we haven't even started yet. But it should compile. Just because something compiles doesn't mean it's going to work. That's something I learned early on. So let's see what's broken. I was testing some WebRTC stuff earlier. That's why I'm here. So let's do some vanity surfing. This is my blog. And is this an eTNS tab? It is not. So I need to re-enable eTNS. Let's know this is going to make sense. Okay. Oh, I've got this logging still from that old patch that I removed. Okay, so this should be an eTennis tab now. Yes. So whenever I print, miraculously that worked, which is disturbing. I really expected it not to. How did that happen? What? How is that working? That's really not supposed to work. And I just realized that I could probably zoom my face in a bit more. There we go. Why would that work? Oh, you know why? I've been doing debug builds, and that's why these log messages are still in there. Yes, okay, that makes a lot more sense. Whew. I was about to just go down a rabbit hole. That could have been a waste of time. So let's see. What is busted? For some reason, my Firefox window continues to spawn on my secondary display, which is why I have to keep dragging it over. Kind of a pain in the butt. And now what are you doing? You are... Oh, you're right. Because I changed retinas. I changed DPIs. So, we have an E10S tab here. File, this should break. I'm expecting break. This might also crash. Who knows? Let's find out. Nothing happens, and that's fine. That's perfectly acceptable because something failed. Um, oh, now something's going on. I got it. What is this? Some kind of like old school printing dialogue. Wacky. But you know what? I can't prove it, but I'm pretty sure, yes, this is being opened in the parent process. So part of it actually works already, even though we haven't serialized and deserialized the right stuff. So that's good. Um, what we need it to look like is it needs to be more populated. There's a lot more stuff that normally shows up in the printing dialog. But let's see what broke. So it's complaining about things being broken in a couple of different places. So we have this like NS printing proxy thing where some return value is just not, it was not successful. Um, let's see what it's talking about. Line 113. Here. And this is, oh, and that's fine because the dialog returned false. Or like whenever you cancel out of the dialog, that's considered an NS error abort. And that's okay. Like the fact that it returned NS error abort is fine. So that's expected actually. That's working properly. Um, and I'll bet you that's also what's happening over here. Printing parent. What line is 101? Yeah, the printing dialog came back with NS error abort because we canceled out of it, and that's okay. And so this is a thumbs up situation. Good, good, good. Pretty good. That worked a lot better than I thought it would. I was expecting a lot more. The stability of that is surprising, very surprising. So there's just a lot of information missing. I don't even know if printing would actually work. In fact, I guarantee printing would not work. And I don't want to try it. I don't want to accidentally print my entire blog to some printer in this building, even though I've selected my PDF printer or something. So I'm not going to do it yet. I might even wait until I'm off the network, just to make sure I don't actually accidentally print reams of paper. That's the problem with testing printing bugs or like testing printing code, is that if things go wrong, you might actually accidentally like print the wrong thing and just waste a lot of paper and ink. Ink's the worst part. Well, they're both pretty good. Okay, so we've got our structure, sort of a basic structure here, where we're already in. We can close these now. We can close that. We close that. We're all ready to do our serialization and deserialization here. This is where all the work really is going to occur, I believe. Um, so I want to keep the GTK version open because I want to use it for like inspiration. There are a couple of places where and I might want the Windows one too. MS Print options win. I mean, so one of the things that occurs whenever you like move back and forth between uh, different different bugs so often is that you lose context. And I've looking back at this old code. I mean, that's what these notes help me do is keep my context. But um, I do need to refresh my memory as I look for this stuff. So this is what I figured. So the content process is the only one that gets this web browser print thing, and it's because the parent is the only one who really cares. Um, or how should I phrase this? When the message goes up to the parent that we want to show the print dialog, sometimes we have to also pass this NSI web browser print to the print dialog as well. However, the NSI web browser print is actually in the content process. So there's some information that we send up, and then we create this like mock NSI web browser print in the parent that basically repeats back, it parrots back the proxied or sort of serialized information from the child, but otherwise is a completely busted implementation of NSI web browser print. It's really hacky, but it gets the job done. It fools the print engine into thinking that the proper stuff is there. And the web browser print is only ever passed in from the child process because it's the only one that actually has it. So that's an important thing to remember because there is stuff on the web browser print that we need. Specifically, we need to get the first document name. Get the first document name for if we're serializing with NSI web browser print. No, hold on. How do I phrase this? When serializing an NSI web browser print, we need to pass up the first document name. We could pass up the entire collection of document names, but the OSX printing engine really only cares, or printing prompt code only really cares about the first one. So we just send the first to save IPC traffic. It's not too much of a savings, but savings is a savings. So we kind of have to mimic what happens over here, where we get this like wacky array of char16t strings, old school strings. Like these are scary strings. Like anytime you see star star and you're iterating over it, I feel a bit weird. I'm used to like the safe comfort of like Gecko C++ and like special array wrappers and stuff. So I don't need to do that bit. I just need to like well, CF string, CTIL string, reinterpret cast, unichar, no, I don't care. So I think I think we can just do this. And instead of using null, we'll use null pointer because that is more gecko-y. Unless there's a reason why we were using null before. I was pretty sure we did a mass rename of null to null pointer a while back. So what do? We get the title count, we get the AWBP, enumerate the document names, title count, dot titles. If it's true, then we need to stash the first one. I guess we don't need to say what we're doing. Just say why we're doing something. And doc title 0 is how we access it. So we could do something like, where's another example where we serialize a string? I'm just trying to remember how we did it. Here, Windows. We can assign it. Okay. All right, let's do that. Let's do it. So data, but not device name. This is what, print job name? Is that what we called it? I already closed it. Print data, printing types. Yeah, that's what I wanted. How do you know Sublime? You're so smart. Print job name. That's what we needed. Data, print job name, assign, and then we pass it. Let's say it's doc titles 0. Let's see if it likes that, and then we free all of them. Title count. It just goes backwards and frees them all. And then frees the entry. Okay. Will that even compile? Let's just see if it will even compile. Build. Where is that? This code is under widget, I think. Yeah, widget Cocoa. Will you build? You'll be surprised. Holy smokes, built. That was not expected. That was an unexpected turn of events. But great. We've stashed the first printer, the printer name. So I think we can go ahead and serialize that. That's checked off now. Oh, yeah, we just need to send the one over. And then we need to serialize a bunch of other stuff. And actually, we should do all of that after here. What do we do with return value? Oh yeah, we do this. We have to ensure success. Ensure success. I've actually been told to avoid the nsensure macros. So maybe I'll use something new. nswarn if, I think is what we're supposed to use instead. I wrote about this recently. Warn if, warn. Sure. I was pretty sure I wrote this down somewhere. This is good information about what you are and are not supposed to use. Nsensure. Yeah, here. I'm supposed to avoid nsensure macros according to this. So I use nswarn if. nswarn underscore if. And then ns failed. RV. Is that a pattern that warn if? Let's see how other people are using it. ns failed. Yeah, that's what's going on. ns failed. Return RV. Great. It's a little more verbose than nsensure success, but So we've done the right thing, I think, for the name. So the next is the printer object. Now we need access to the ns print info is what it's called. ns print info thing. We can get at it actually from the settings that are being passed into us. If we QI the settings to a NSI print settings X, print settings X. Is that what it is? I guess not. How is it being done? How was it done in here? You query it to just query object. Okay, well, I'll just do this. Um, so, NSPrint settings X. Perfect. This all works out. And then we'll use our handy if NSWarn if there. And then what we want to do is, now that we have the settings X thing, we can get at the print info. And that is like this. Sorry, flipping around all over the place. NS print info, settings X get print info, and if NS warn, if not print info. I don't know when that would be the case. That's really weird. If there's no print info, like that's devastating. Um, so let's just see if that will build. That's a pretty good chunk that we've written. Did a lot of copy paste, but that's okay. Try and make sure not too many bugs are slipping through. I can't believe it's building. They should mark it. They should market that as like a type of IDE, the name of IDE. I can't believe it's building. I don't know if that would sell. Let's see. Print info. So now I can do things with print info. Specifically, I want to be able to get the dictionary out of it, because the dictionary holds all. Basically, it holds all the information that is special that I want to splat in. It holds all of this stuff. So I need to be able to get at the dictionary, and I'm pretty sure I wrote down how to get at it. Didn't I? Shoot. Why wouldn't I have written that down? That seems pretty key. Oh, example usage. Maybe this was it. It has print info. It's oh, it looks like it's a member on it. I can just get the dictionary member. I'm not Objective-C++ and Objective-C are kind of new to me, but I sort of understand the syntax. And I'm pretty sure what's going on here is that we get this shared print info thing off of the NS print info. This is like a globally available thing, because there's a shared print info for every app. It has one, and you can do stuff with it. And then we're just getting the dictionary out of it. So I think that's all I need to do, is I just need to get the dictionary out. Now, the dictionary shared dict is an NS mutable dictionary. It's mutable? Really? I'd be surprised if it was mutable. It doesn't need to be mutable. In fact, I'd prefer it not be mutable. So I'm just going to say NS dictionary. So NS dictionary. And what do we do? I'll call it dictionary equals, and what do we do? Equals, and then we just pass it the square bracket thing, and then dictionary. Okay. So in this case, it's print info dictionary. And this is another thing where it's like, if we don't have a dictionary, we are sunk. Again, this is a lot cleaner with the NS Ensure stuff, but we're not supposed to use them anymore, because apparently it really like it makes it harder to figure out where problems are or something. And it works. So this is useful. Now that we have this dictionary, it's a matter of just grabbing the stuff we need and splatting it into our struct. That's great news. Oh, do not forget, I forgot. I need to initialize those primitives. Where do I do that? Where do I do that? Like I said, if we don't initialize the primitives, we're going to crash. when we send the message down because it's just full of random memory. I have a feeling it's under NSPrint options impl is where it was done. Blah, 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 blah. Serialize. Here it is. Don't. Yeah, this is where we do the other things. So print job name, so data, because it's a string, it auto-initializes. Print job name, default it initializes, but print all pages does not. So let's say data print time default initializes, and data fax number default initializes. The rest of y'all need to be defaulted. Print all pages. I'm going to say true. That sounds like a decent default. Must collate. False sounds like a decent default. Disposition. 0. Pages across. 1. I'm just putting in what to me sound like sane defaults. These should all be overwritten. This is particularly for the platforms that will not use these, is the thing. Like, GTK and Windows will not use these, straight up. And so, but it will still crash if these are filled with random memory, because the struct will be the same across each platform. So that's why I'm giving these sane defaults, even though for those other platforms they're just not going to be used. Data, detailed error reporting. True, I guess. Add header and footer. False. And file name extension hidden. False, let's say. Great. Okay, so that's what I want to make sure we got done. That's important. Great. So actually, before we continue, let's commit what we've got. This is pretty good. Pretty good stuff. Let's take a look at our diff, actually. Maybe we can... It's always nice to see if you can split something up. What? HG diff. Commit diff. Yeah, right. It's always good to see if you can split something up. It helps people review sometimes. We can probably split up the adding of these types and this stuff in widget, print options impl, and then the rest of it. So let's do that. C record, which allows me to interactively choose which parts I want to commit. C record is an extension for Mercurial. I'm not sure if it's available for Windows, but I believe it's something that you can get relatively easily for Linux and OS X. So I'm going to commit this part and this part. These two. I'll actually end up merging them into the previous patch, I think, or folding them in. So add special new OSX specific pprint data stuff. Print data stuff. Not my best commit message, but that's okay. I'll be obliterating it momentarily. And then here, this stuff. Okay. Serialize. So this one, I think I'll keep probably all together. So bug, bug number, serialize and deserialize OSX. Hang on. Maybe I'll just proxy opening the print dialog on OSX to the parent. Great.
Well, it's good to do one thing well.
Well, that's doing. Once that's done, I will fold the last. This is the mercurial gymnastics portion of the show, where I will be folding one patch into another. Once mercurial wakes up, because it's taken a while to do this commit. I don't know why. All right. So I'm going to fold this stuff into this. So what I'll do is I'll use a tool called HistEdit and tell it the range. Now this is kind of confusing because the graph log, does things in like the most recent thing is at the top, and then it goes like it progresses back in time as you go down. But in HistEdit, it completely flips it around. So this is like the oldest stuff is at the top, and then the newest stuff's at the bottom, which is kind of weird, but something to keep in mind. So I'm going to fold this into the one above it, and then that will give me the opportunity to edit the commit message, because I need to more accurately describe what's going on in that patch. So this is good. I didn't want to completely obliterate it. What am I going to say? I'm going to say add OSX specific fields to our members to print data struct. DL struct for serializing. I guess that's not necessary. Okay. How's everyone doing in IRC? Thumbs up? Everyone okay out there? Everyone still alive? People listening? If I'm just background chatter, that's fine too. Maybe you're hacking on your own thing, and I'm just like this voice in the background. Oh, Mike Taylor's a little hungry. Okay, I recommend a sandwich. If you happen to have like the need to avoid gluten, a gluten-free sandwich if you can find one. I personally love gluten, but other people not so much. So do what you like, but I would recommend a sandwich. Mike Taylor requests extra gluten. I'm pretty sure it like if you were to spread gluten like a topping, if you could order some, it'd be like this weird gelatinous, almost like this is really gross. It's like just slop that you put on your bread. It's gluten, extra gluten. Basically, like I imagine it as white school glue. And now Richard is seeing frame drops. No, I am definitely plugged into the network. No, I'm definitely plugged into the wired network. So, crap. Barrett says that gluten spread sounds a lot like mayo. I would agree, but probably not as delicious, and yet probably more satisfying. It might not add a tangy zing, but gives you that glutenish heavy feeling. Okay, great. We're gonna work on this dropped frames thing after the live cast. I apologize if you're watching this and like you're missing frames or something. Maybe come back and watch the recording tomorrow or something. Let's keep working. Let's see here. We actually, where are we? We've done our committing. We are here at, right, we have the dictionary, and we committed a bunch of stuff, is where we got to. And now we can start extracting things out of that dictionary, and then like moving stuff into the struct. So that's good. It's actually a really good It's a really good plan. So let's do that. That happens over here. So now we have the dictionary. Now, how do you get something from a dictionary from an NS dictionary? I don't actually know. I've never worked with a dictionary before. I'm new to Cocoa, so let's find out. This is how you can like pass a dictionary around. But let's look up the spec for NS dictionary, the class reference. How to get a thing. How to get a thing. Come on, come on, come on. Show me, show me, show me. Examples. I want to see an example. NS dictionary example. There we go. Dict, NS dictionary, dictionary of objects, blah, 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 blah. And then this is how you iterate it. That's great, but I don't want to iterate it. Richard says that gluten is far more chewy than mayo. I don't know where you get your mayo from, Richard. No, I'm joking. You're probably right. Let's see here. I want to just be able to get specific keys. Oh, object for key. That sounds exactly right, actually. Dict object for key, and then we pass it a key. That sounds good. That's fine. No, no, no. You can be as loud as you want. It's fine. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Just some people whiteboarding near me. It's cool. It'll add extra brain power to the room. So we have the value of the dict, and I want to get. So maybe I'll just call this dict because that seems as straightforward. And then I can get an object for the key, and the first key I want is probably the printer name. Because like while I can't serialize the printer itself, but I can serialize the name and then retrieve the printer on the other side of things. So I'm pretty sure that the printer name is already being stored somewhere else. Printer name. Right. So let's start with this actually, and that will actually take care of two birds with one stone. So let's get I need to get a string. I need to get the string out of this dictionary. It's an NS string, and it's the printer name, and it's got this key. Let's see an example of it being used if we can find it. Blah, 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 it doesn't help. I want to find an example. Give me an example. Let's just check all of GitHub for an example. So what it does now is printer name. These are all looking like the same header. I want to see it actually being used though. I guess what I should probably look for is like get object for key. Is that a thing? Yes. No, that's not the same thing. Can't find that. Can't find that. I also saw something like this @ symbol. Hey, now we're cooking. Wait, what was that? Let's print paper name. This might be good enough. We can just pass it this like constant. Assuming this constant is around, let's see, like NS string printer name equals dict object for key, and then we'll call it NS printer name. Oh, one other thing, I should check to see whether or not anyone at Gecko uses NS printer name. No, we do not. So I will be the first. I am breaking new ground.
Then
This should
we
be
set a
star.
different projection.
And I don't think I have to worry about allocation and deallocation. Does it?
Yeah.
It's being stored inside the dictionary.
We also have the projection matrix.
It just means that I should be careful about passing this around, but I'm pretty sure that if I assign it to part of the struct, that it's being copied. So that's fine. So if I'll do dict, sorry, not dict, data, and then printer name, printer name,
And the idea is that if you go left and right eye, they're actually going to look something like this.
printer name, there it is.
Because you have no, like, you always see more here than this.
Printer name, and then I can do assign, and then can I just pass it the printer name like that? Will it even like that? Let's find out. Let's experiment. Will it like it? Stay tuned.
This is different than what normal rendering does. Normal rendering, like the projection, just takes to see the pixel coordinates places
Of course, a hist edit like potentially changes like. Never mind. Okay. Yeah, it will not accept NS string because it's looking for char type. So how do I go from NS string to char type? So I need to cast somehow, and I should probably find out how to do that. There's probably a couple points in Gecko where we do this. I want to look under Coco.
Complex projection, we're just going to give it a projection matrix and give it some years of bar instead of scales.
Little examples maybe we can look at. Country code. Country code sounds interesting. Const char star. We can get get it as a UTF-8 string. Very useful.
This also, we have a complex matrix. We want to turn.
So maybe we can do that.
That's not done at all.
So if I do printer name, if NS warn, if not printer name, or maybe.
And then we render the child layers.
Printer. I wonder if we should fail if printer name is not defined.
Basically, now we have the projection matrix. The only thing that's different is with
to do. Should we fail here if the printer is not, printer name is not set? Is that even a condition we can be in? Okay, so if printer name, then data, printer name, assign, and then what we can do is printer name, and then we ask it as a UTF-8 string, UTF-8 string. Will that even work? Let's find out. Nope. Does not like. No known conversion from const char star to char type.
So, yes and no.
Char 16T.
Because,
Char 16T.
It's something that actually
char star is UTF-8. I probably want UTF-16.
It's mostly correct, but there's a bunch of code that is assuming
where is it? And a string.
The scissor rectangles 16 are actually going to be things you can click the actual
And string to UTF-16.
actual child layers, which is no longer correct. Right. So, like, for example, when you do a drop quantum, you pass in the destination rectangle and the clip rectangle. The clip rectangle just becomes set as a scissor rectangle.
What is it? Char 16T.
Like, has no real interaction with that clip rectangle. even before.
I guess char16t is something that
Even assuming you only
Gecko
pass a value transform with it,
does.
before you could say,
Well,
well,
chars,
you know,
I
if
should
the
probably just look at
destination rectangle is entirely
class
different
reference.
rectangle, like could in theory just spin from radius.
Oh, okay. String objects, blah, blah, blah,
Because
blah,
you would have to
blah.
transform the destination rectangle by the full projection to figure out like where it's actually going to end up in the final thing.
Envy in this.
And then decide
Someone
what
else
you
could
want,
thought
which is
about
why it's not
that.
actually worth doing it. Because that's what the 3D algorithms for.
Okay. Yeah, so then you could put, should probably set somewhere further outside.
UTF-8.
And that's like right now.
Hit it with
whenever I do
UTF-8.
this stuff, the clip that I pass down is just always a clip for the full surface.
Okay.
And because like I know in the compositor, it just becomes a scissor rectangle.
Returns in a string object initialized with copying characters from a given C array of UTF-8 encoded bytes. See also string with UTF-8 string. Returns a string created by copying the data from a given C array of UTF-8 encoded bytes. But I want that with 16.
And that was causing some problems because there was times when we were invalidating like a too small region as opposed to being projected, so you only get this kind of thing. And I have a hat there that basically says if a container has is a VR thing or is it
String with C string.
then
Come on.
just invalidate the thing.
That would be
16.
Yeah, so this is like, so we do this per eye. Then after that, we have a temporary surface that is the size of our container.
Well, that's not very useful. I just need to get a UTF-16 string from an NS string.
There's one more step, which is when we take this temporary surface and we run it.
That's exactly what I need.
Which renders to the final output, and that's where you get the.
Holy smokes, that's how you do it?
The interesting thing is, there's a
Alright.
version of the SDK that I'm about to start using.
Let's see if it likes that.
Where so the
Printer name.
codes and Windows there's something called direct mode, which is where you want to eventually use. Where this will show up as an object. It's just it's some magic thing that you kind of initiate access to in the SDK, say I want to open it. Yeah. And so what the OSIS SDK does is it
Printer
actually
name.
talks with it does a bunch of like cross-process surface sharing and all that magic.
Okay.
So what you do is you say, give me a set of
Let's see.
vector targets for the rift.
Ready to do. I don't have a good feeling about this.
Here's your frame.
No.
And it does this step. So what I'm thinking of like the weird thing really bad.
It's still considering a constant char star. So what is a char 16t? Let's take a look at what in Gecko char 16t is. It's a UN16t. What is a UN16t? Unsigned integer. An unsigned integer.
So this is all kind of conceptually.
16t. So it's a long.
The tricky thing comes in. And one is called the
UN16t and a string.
I have no idea if that's correct because we pass it around like all over the place, and right now I'm sort of.
That sounds
This is the most general thing.
related.
I'm not sure whether it's the right thing.
Again, maybe I should be looking more at what we do in Gecko.
The other thing that we'll need to figure out is.
Oh, append UTF-8 to UTF-16.
Coordinates properly. So one of the things that I do as part of
Maybe we have to get the UTF-8 out.
Is
and
actually
then
no,
we.
not as part of that, but as part of this. Is I also add so as soon as you do this left right this child transform with the I transform, all
M
of a
country
sudden
code. What is M country code?
right, and that's bigger than the
Graphics
this is
info.
like 5.4 centimeters.
M country code is what?
So
It's an NS string, so that's the right type. So it is UTF-16 and I append it.
Incoming pixels, or incoming values.
Okay, let's find a different example.
And then
And
does
a
a conversion
string.
of basically 96 DPI to meters. And so you end up with whatever it is, like a couple thousand pixels per meter.
Ooh, get string from NS string. That sounds like exactly what I need. NS Cocoa utils, get string for NS string. Oh, that's brilliant.
like that's where one thing stuff to start being safe.
NS cookie
As soon
tools.
as you
Where
get
is
some
that?
very large things that are bigger than the 1920 or 1080 or whatever happens. So that's going to be a little tricky.
Oh, that's brilliant.
We have enough, like I was talking about, we have enough
Okay.
in MS4 that
So I can pass it.
alright. So that part will
If printer name, then what I'll do is NS Coco utils, assuming that's available here. Static, so get string for NS string, and then I can pass it the NS string, which is printer name. And the second thing, I have to pass it a reference. Pass it something that it can use to be dereferenced or something. I don't exactly know what the right phrasing is for that. But let's see how other people are using it. A localized name.
kind of basically it. Like I think you have a lot more knowledge of actual full systems layout to the compositor, layers to the compositor.
Yes.
Everything that and so there's a lot of stuff where I just kind of like hack something in saying like this needs to work.
Better. Stir. NS string stir, and then you just, okay, this is perfect. So, data thing, printer name, might do it. Assuming NS Coco utils is available here. Fingers crossed, people. Holy smokes, that worked. Wasn't expecting that. Alright. Let's see. That's pretty excellent. I assume that it worked. I haven't actually tested it, but we could do that. We could test that right now. Maybe we should do that. Let's do that. So let's take this opportunity to like make sure all of this stuff is working properly. So what I'll do is I will run start a print job, attach a debugger, start a print job, and then like break inside the serialized print data stuff and just make sure that all of this is hunky-dory going through it. How much longer am I going to do this? I'm probably going to do this for another half hour or so. I'm going to go until 3. That's my plan. So let's see how far we get. We're making good progress. We're learning a lot. I just learned how to convert from NS string to a normal string. In fact, I should probably write that down as one of the things I've learned this week. May 4th to May. Tomorrow be the 8th. You can do it. Just a quick note here. NS string to, what was it called? NS string to get. So I'll just quickly write that out to remind me. Whoops. There we go. Okay. Back to the button. Did it build? Oh, it's running. We weren't even building, we were running. So that's where we wanted to be. I've got my debugger running. I will attach the process. So actually, fun fact, I think I can do this. What's the key combo? Yeah, okay. If I hit command, so one of the things that I hate is that I can't like go debug, like there's no keyboard shortcut for this, even though I do it all the time. There's no key shortcut. But Garvin on Twitter showed me that if I hit Command-Shift/ that comes up, and then if I type in attach, the second one, the second menu item here, if I just hit enter, so I can like make that part of my muscle memory. So like / attach, down, boom, perfect. So what I want to do is attach to the child process. So I've learned this week. Shortcut to attached process. Another thing I'll do is probably put my back and forward buttons back. Did you know that you can customize your Evernote? Because you can! Okay, so we are attached. I'm pausing, and now I'm going to set my breakpoint. So my breakpoint that I want to set is here in serialized print data. Wait, I just attempted to attach to that. That's wrong. So whoops. That's not going to work. I should have really done this. So I made a big mistake, and now Xcode's trying to find this thing. I don't know how to tell it to not do that, but oh well, it'll figure it out eventually. I was just joking. Okay, so let's print and hit our breakpoint. We should hit our breakpoint. Oh, hold on. We're running here. What's the deal? We are locked up. What's going on? Do we hit our breakpoint or not? Apparently it's running. Ah, here we go. Just took a while. I have a feeling Xcode is like freaking out because it's searching desperately for this thing. And I don't know how to tell it to not do this anymore. I tried to tell it to detach. It's not listening. Alright, anyway, this is where I wanted to be. Excuse me. So, we do the first step there. Okay, let's get the document title. And that returns successfully. The document titles, how many are there? We get a count of 5. I don't know why there'd be so many, but the first one is this one. So Mike Conley's blog, that's a great thing that we're going to attach to the print job name. Print job name. So if we look at print job name now, should have, well, I can't really, yeah, it's starting with M. I can't remember. Mike Conley's blog, yeah, it's in there. It's in there. Okay, good. And then we'll free all these up. Blah, 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 blah. And now we get the print settings X, get the print info. Okay, get the dictionary, get the printer name. Now this will be interesting. Printer name. PDF writer. Hey, we have a printer name. Great. And then we convert. And now let's see what is inside the data. Printer name. Printer name. Where is it? Printer name. Boom. Data. P. Length of 9. PDF writer. Has 9 characters. That's great. So far we're doing the right thing. Thumbs up. Good work, people. We're making forward progress. So let's finish up here. I'm actually going to, oh, and actually, that doesn't make any sense why I would have known, because we're not deserializing it. So that OS X might have just defaulted to choosing the last one. Alright. I'm going to cancel. I'm going to quit this. I'm actually going to quit Xcode as well to try and cancel out of this. Because I have a feeling it's going to stop the tasks. And in the meantime, we will keep pushing forward. So we have the printer name, so we can do that and that. Next is just the number of copies. So I don't know if, I don't think we get a pointer out. I think we get the actual NS number. So if I do ns number copies, num copies equals dict
Right.
object for key, and then we'll pass it ns print copies, we should get a number back. And well, before I was worried about the string not existing here. Here, a number will exist. It will be a number. So I think we'll be okay. I'm just going to go data num copies equals num copies. Great. And does it like it? Does Clang like it? Meanwhile, print all pages. It's a Boolean. And what does it say? It's an NS number, but it's actually a Boolean. Okay, well, NS number, print all pages, dict object for key, print all pages, and then data print all pages equals and then print all pages equals 1? True. Like, why is it a number? Why can't you store Boolean? Is that even going to work? And maybe just print all pages is truthy enough. Like, I can just do that, even though it's Boolean. Is that going to work? What if print all pages is like 6? Is that going to do my bool field here? So maybe makes sense. Print all pages is an NS number. Tell me about NS numbers, Apple. Bool. Number with bool. I just need to get it back as a bool. Give me a bool. Don't init with bool. Give me back a bool. Bool value. Yes, that's what I want. Bool. Bool value. Okay, so NS number, bool value. Let's see it being used. Actually, let's look inside Gecko. Bool value. Cocoa. Oh, that's handy. Okay. So what I will do is this. Data print all pages equals bool value. I think I can just do that. It's nice. Cool. And that, whoa, didn't mean to start you up. Ooh, it doesn't like this. Int32 is incompatible with number star. Num copies is no good. I have to give it like an int. So int value? Int value. Same biz. So I can actually do it like this. Data num copies equals. Now, maybe I should ask, I'm going to put in a to-do, because I'm worried. What if object for key returns, because yeah, it's possible I could be calling int value on a thing that doesn't exist, which will crash us. Yay, it's building. So print copies is done. Print all pages is done. Print first page. It's just another integer. Data, print first page. What are we doing? Store this in start page range. Start page range. Equals and then dict object for key. Start page range. And let's print first page. Int value. Data start, no, end page range? Yeah. End page range equals dict key, and then that. Then int value again. And what's next? Will it build? It should accept it. And then I can check all these off. Must collate Boolean field. It liked it. Alright, data must collate equals dict object for key. And this print must collate bool value. Bool value. What's next? What's next? Reverse page order. Data reverse page order. Store this in print reversed. Okay. Print reversed. Dict object for key. That bool value. That should build just fine. Print job disposition short field. So data print. What did I call it? Print. Maybe I just call it disposition. I did. Disposition. Dict object key. And now, can I query NAS number for a short value? Yes, I can. That's nice. What else? What's next? Print pages across. Short again. Pages across, I think is what I called it. Pages across, yes. Dict object for key. Short value. Next. This is a lot of grunt work. Pages down is next. Pages down. Dict object for key. I'm guessing it's just this, but down. Right? Yes. Short value. Data. And then what's next? Print time. So this is tricky. I have to convert the time to a string. I'll do that later. I'll do that. I'm going to do that at the end. Actually, I'll do these tough things at the end. The rest of these we can just knock them out. So where are we at? Print reverse, let's collate. Boom, boom, boom. That'll probably build. It is down. Okay, error reporting is next. It's a Boolean value, data. And what do I call it? Detailed error reporting? Error reporting equals dict object for key. And then, whoopa! Am I over 80 characters? I'm definitely over 80 characters. In a couple of these. Oh well. I can clean that up later. Done. Print fax number. Some string. So string to string, no problem. Yes. Data fax number. number, close dict, for key, print, fax number, if fax number, and then do this operation. And maybe I should put all those together, the strings. Fax number. Whoop. Football. Okay, fax number done. Printer, header and footer, bool. So I've got a bool left to do. Ooh, this is interesting as well. I'm gonna put that towards the bottom. We might try and fix this, and then I'll get to these next time. So this is, I should point out, what I plan to do is not work on this bug again until next week, because I have a feeling we're going to be done this reasonably soon. I have a feeling this is a nice small bug. There's not too much time pressure on it, so I'm not going to work on this bug until next week, and maybe we can finish it off then. I have a feeling we can polish it off then. This is a nice, like, small to medium-sized bug. So don't worry. All these interesting things that I'm saving up for down here, we can do next time. Print header and footer. Tune in next time. Header and footer. Add header and footer is what I call it. Add header and footer equals dict object for key. And then bool value. And then this thing. Here's what I wanted to address before we call it a day. I don't know if we'll get it all done, but we will try. So here's the thing. In all of the work for serializing and deserializing, we've actually, like for Linux and Windows as well, I think we missed a spot, basically. So let me show you the interface for NSI print settings. There's this thing called print options, which is basically just this int32, field that you flip bits on for various options. And it's like you pass it types, set print options. This is a really old school way of doing it. Pass it something like enable selection RB, like one of these things up here. Yeah, here. And then you say whether or not you should turn on or off. Flip a bit to 1 or to 0. And these are things that are like for whether or not you should just print the even pages or the odd pages, or only print what the user has selected with their cursor. And that's something that we are not serializing and deserializing, and we should. So that's something that's, we can probably, I'm going to commit what I've got, I'm going to commit amend it, and that's something that we can actually put before either of these two things, which is good. Let's see. I want to check out this and then rebase whatever I write, rebase these two on top of it. So what I want to do is, in the general case, let's reload. In as print setting, print options impl here, serialize to print data. I think we need to add like a new thing here, which is like basically the options, print options. Unless they're ordered here, if they're not. Int32t option flags. That's what I'll call it. And that's something that we can do in here. Serialize to print data. And how do I get the full-on get print options bits? That's exactly what I need. Just like get the bit field is exactly what I need. So it's very easy. And then can I set them like that? Set print options. I might have to like go through each of the types whenever I deserialize and just set each one based on. Oh, that's not amazing. Print option bits and print options. A bits. So and print options equals. We only ever do that in initialization. Bah. So I'll have to manually, like, whenever I deserialize, I'll have to go through and flip each of the individual ones. That's not so great, but whatever. So serialize, that's easy. I'll do it after all of these. So I will say a settings get, what was it? Get print option bits. Options bits. Get print options bits. Actually, what I could do is just like add a set print options bits in here. That probably is not the worst thing in the world. It would actually be a lot simpler. I think I'll do that. So data print option flags. The settings get options bits. Flags, yep. Options equal. And then in deserializing, I will do settings set print options bits. And I'll pass it data.options flags. And this set print options bits thing is not defined currently, so I'll have to add it. So I have to change the IDL first, and set print settings.idl bits. This is just wrong. This here. And set print options bit field. So void set print options bits in 32 bits. Right. Okay. And then in the base print settings implementation as print settings impl, where they have get print options bits. This was updated back in 2001. Great, from Rods. So see, maybe I should look at the documentation real quick. Get print settings bits. Settings bits. Bits? There is no. What are you talking about? There is no documentation. Rods. You say and print options. Look at. All right. Well, there's no documentation here. Thanks, Rods. Oh well, maybe it got removed. I won't blame this person, whoever they were. Okay. Set print options bits. Sure. And print options. Arc pointer. A bits. Perfect. That should do it. Let's see if that works. That actually might fix a number of other bugs. I believe there are some open bugs for printing on Windows with E10S where things like printing just the selection doesn't work, and this I think would fix that. So let's see if this will even compile. it'll probably fail the link because I needed to build the. You know, I'm just going to stop it. I should do Moz config, build, and then just do a general build. And I'll kick that off. And we are right at the time where I wanted to stop. So I will, let's wait until we see how this does. It'll only take a minute or two. In the meantime, let's go through the plan of what we're going to do next week and figure out what's up. So this one we finished. Here, this is one of those things that we're going to be storing in one of those flags. Now that we're serializing the flags back and forth, we can stash this value in one of those flags that we're sending. So that's good. We can get this. We can just knock this out. We're going to have to do some conversion between URL from a URL to a string. So I'll be learning about NSURL. So we'll do that, and then how to convert from an NS date to a string, and then from a string back to an NS date. And then we're going to do all the deserialization on the parent side. And then I think that'll do it. That's probably it. So we did a lot of the serialization this episode. Next week we'll do all the deserialization. Maybe get into some trouble. Maybe there'll be some assumptions that we'll realize that we made that aren't any good. That could happen. But in the meantime, I will not work on this, and we'll wait until we start streaming again. We're actually already doing this part, which is having the parent process create it. Thing we get back, give to the content process, make sure we serialize the NSPrintInfo dictionary. So that's actually starting to already. It's just all the deserialization work we need to do. And then this bug, we can probably close out this bug soon. So, fingers crossed, next week we'll finish it off. If it's not next week, it'll probably be the week after that, unless we run into something really confusing. And let's just see how this did. It failed. It failed because too few arguments. Print options bits, because that's not how this works. I failed to use that correctly. So hold on. As print options impl options bits. Here, I should have done it like this. Whoop-a. And now that should build, I think. And I believe the IPC stuff will already be done at this point, so this should link too. And then we're done. Yay, it's linking. So I'm going to call that a win. Great job, everybody. We are, it finished building, in case you were wondering. I just watched it. So that's it. This is episode 13, and we're doing okay. If you're out there watching this, maybe you're a Mozillian who hacks on other stuff that might be really, really interesting for other people to watch. Like maybe you do, I don't know, maybe you work on web development, or maybe you do like Fennec stuff, or maybe you work on B2G, or who knows? There's so much stuff. Maybe you work for a foundation on like open science or all sorts of stuff. Like, it's all fascinating, and in the end, whenever it comes to like working with code, it's all code, and that's cool to watch. I think it's very interesting to watch that. I highly recommend, if you're interested in live hacking like this. I think it's a valuable use of your time. If that is something that interests you, come drop into the Hash Live Hacking channel in IRC and talk to myself. I'm Conley in IRC, or talk to Richard. We can connect you with all of the resources you need to get a stream going, and that'll be great if we can get some more content on Air Mozilla, people hacking on stuff. So I think that's it. That's my spiel. Thank you so much for watching. Tune in next week. We're gonna finish. I feel it. I feel good about this one. I think we're gonna smash it next week, and we can call it a day on this bug and move on to something else. So again, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next week. Take care. Bye.